Good evening. Welcome to the February 17th meeting of the Yakima School Board. Chinese New Year of the horse today, so we'll celebrate that, I guess. Before we begin, I'd like to have Jorge come up. We offer Spanish interpretation services with language connection. If you need translation assistance in person, please check with Jorge for a device. And Jorge, please translate that.
Buenas tardes. Si alguien necesita de la ayuda de un intérprete, tenemos los radios y estoy disponible para hacerlo. Gracias.
Thank you. If you wish to make a public comment this evening, there are two options available for you. The first option is for commenting on agenda items only, and the second option, which comes toward the end of the meeting, is for all other topics. In order to speak tonight, you need to sign two forms, the sign-in form and the guidelines form. We do provide live streaming for this meeting. The link can be found on our webpage under Board of Directors. If you are interested in watching past meetings, you may find them on our webpage's YSD YouTube channel. Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Shelton? Here. Director Navarro Jr.?
Here.
Director Rice?
Here.
President Walker?
Here.
And Vice President Beckett is excused.
I'd also like to note that Dr. Green continues to be out on an approved and excused absence.
Thank you. Please rise and join me in the flag salute. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And February's character word of the month is persistent, demonstrating determination and continued effort to achieve goals despite challenges. En español, persistente, demostrando determinación y esfuerzo continuo para alcanzar metas a pesar de los desafíos.
Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation.
Hoy las escuelas del Distrito Escolar de Yakima descansan en las tierras ancestrales de las 14 tribus y bandas confederadas de la nación Yakima.
The people of the Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres.
La gente de la nación Yakima habitó más de 10 billones de acres.
Across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties.
En los condados de Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Grant, Franklin, Kittitas, Klickitat, y Yakima.
Today we honor those native peoples who are tied to the land through history, legends, and culture.
Hoy honramos a estos pueblos originales que están vinculados en la tierra a través de historias, leyendas y culturas.
We acknowledge the descendants who live in the world today.
Reconocemos a sus descendientes que viven en el mundo de hoy.
We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial.
Agradezcamos a los guardianes de la tierra, quienes han vivido aquí y continúan viviendo aquí, desde tiempos inmemoriales.
An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect.
Un reconocimiento es una manera simple y poderosa de mostrar respeto.
And a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase indigenous peoples' history and culture.
Y un paso hacia la corrección de las historias y prácticas que borran la historia y la cultura de los pueblos indígenas.
It also honors the truth. También honra la verdad. As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation.
Como distrito escolar, continuaremos fortaleciendo nuestras relaciones con la nación Yakima.
Thank you, students. This evening, it's our pleasure to recognize some of the accomplishments of our students. It's always fun to do that. When I read your name, or when your names are read by our board members, would you please come and kind of circle by and we'd shake your hand and then go stand in front of the wall over here and we'll take a group picture afterwards. And if your parents would like to take an individual picture afterwards, we'd like to do that as well. So Director Shelton will begin.
The Board of Directors would like to congratulate the following YV Tech students for their induction into the National Technical Honor Society. The National Technical Honor Society is an educational nonprofit that exists to honor, recognize, and empower students and teachers in career and technical education. From AC Davis High School, Camila De La Rosa, pre-medical assistant. Gloria Duarte, culinary arts. Leslie Campos, business administration. Leslie Mora, nursing. Evelyn Lopez Peña, business administration. Great job. Great job.
And from Eisenhower High School, we have a little bit of a list here. Ariana Rosales, Teacher Academy. Ava Eagleman. Congratulations.
We'll be hiring you some year.
Ezekiel Marquez, pre-medical assistant. Juvenal Valdovinos, nursing. Kenley Davis, dental assisting. Congratulations. Congratulations. Cine Benitez, dental assisting 2. Jaime Ortiz Murillo, law enforcement. Congratulations. Jair Masida, machining and industrial mechanics. Giovanni Cisneros, machining and industrial mechanics. Renee Ibanez Sanchez, law enforcement. And Rupali Pasricha, business administration. And from Stanton Academy, Carla Diaz Escarena, business administration. Congratulations. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Okay. That's all.
Okay, after the group picture, any relative or parent or friend that wants to take an individual photo, you can come up and do. We'll take a little short break and you can do that. Next up in our recognition portion of the program tonight, Director Navarro will be introducing parent groups from most of our schools have at least one either booster group or PTO or PTA group. So, Director Navarro.
Yes, thank you, President Walker. It's my honor to, on behalf of the board, to recognize the parents of the Yakima School District. We know they play a vital and important role in the success of all our students and our families. So, in honor of the National PTA Founders Day, excuse me, the Yakima School District Board of Directors wishes to express gratitude, acknowledging the significant role of that PTA, booster clubs, and other parent groups play locally, thank you, regionally and nationally. Your efforts have been instrumental in advancing parent involvement and advocating for the well-being of all children and families. Thank you very much. So we're going to go ahead and start with the PTO groups. From Adams PTA President, Israel Moreno. Oh. Thomas Romero, Barge Lincoln PTA President. Macy Moore, Discovery Early Learning PTA President. Justin Duncock, thank you. There he is. Why don't you come forward so we can recognize you. Gilbert PTA President. Thank you. Floyd Reyes, Hoover PTA President. If you don't mind staying up here in the front so we can, yes, want to get a photograph there, a picture. Heather Gonzalez McClure, PTA President. Megan McCormick, Nob Hill PTA President. Tracy Anderson, Ridgeview PTA President. Michael K., Roosevelt PTA President. Maritza Madrigal, Wilson Middle School PTA President. Next, we have the booster clubs. Candace Hooks, Davis Parent Booster President. All right. Les Henderson, Davis Boys Basketball Booster President. Jennifer Hall, Davis Volleyball Booster President. Marilyn James, T. Eas, Davis Girls Basketball Booster President. Jeremy Rodriguez, Davis Football Booster President. Kelly Hall, Davis Fast Pitch Booster President. Raquel Cortez, Davis Choir Booster President. Cheyenne Ammerman, Davis Drama Booster President. Anna Mendoza, Davis Band Booster President. Nicole Hopkins, Eisenhower Track and Field Cross Country Booster President. Christian Gums, Eisenhower Choir Booster President. Nora Lopez, Eisenhower Boys and Girls Soccer Booster President. Alyssa Skiles, Eisenhower Drama Booster President. Johnny Snyder, Eisenhower Football Booster President. Julie Ross, Eisenhower Football Booster President. Michelle Rhodes, Eisenhower Band Booster President. April Atkinson, Eisenhower Dance Booster President. Tessa Doan, Eisenhower Boys Basketball President. And last but not least, Heather Quesnell, Bowling Booster President. Mr. President.
Thank you so much. At the end of this section are students and parents who are welcome to stay if you wish and endure the complete business meeting, or if you have homework or kids to spend time with, feel free to go after this. And thanks again to all our students for their good work and for our parents that put in countless volunteer hours to support our students and their activities.
Oh.
Okay, continuing on with our agenda, we have first Mr. Art Rodriguez, Director of Transportation, will be providing us with the transportation report.
Thank you, Jake.
Well, good evening. I want to thank President Walker, the board, and Deputy Superintendent Larson for the opportunity to come out and speak about transportation this year. It feels like I was here a year ago and it went by so fast that it seems like it was last month, but it wasn't. So I'm glad to be back, glad to share how the Transportation Department is doing this year. So a quick operational snapshot of how we're doing this year. Currently, we are still operating under 2 bells. I kind of explained that last year I was here. We have our elementary bell and we have our secondary bells. And so we started the year with like 61 routes. And due to our availability of drivers, we had a shortage, and we still continue to have a shortage this year again. We've whittled that down to 57 routes. We currently have 66 drivers right now, and we've due to certain happenings this year, we've had quite a few on leave. So we're really running around 57 drivers right now, any given day. So we're always on the verge of being short, and we are short some days when it's really demand is when there's quite a few call-ins or issues with coverage. So that is our current snapshot, and that's where we're at as far as just straight numbers. 57 routes, 66 drivers, and we're currently operating under that 2-bell system still. Student counts are up a few percentage points. We were up 3%, almost 3% in the fall. And even with the shortage of drivers and shrinking of routes, we were able to get to 3% almost. And then wintertime always drops every year. It drops, something happens, I'm not sure if what happens as far as, but consistently every year we drop in the winter by whether kids decide to get rides or other forms of getting to school. We still increased over last year by almost 2%, but it's still decreased from the fall numbers. Last year I came out and talked about we're always trying to be operationally efficient, how we do things. And one of our big standouts last year was our charter improvements from the year before. So up there in 2023, we had 88 charters. And last year we ended up with 5, a huge swing. Right now we are trending at 61 due to the lack of drivers that we have. And we're looking at, last year we saved about $250,000. We're like right now trying to save $100,000 on the cost overall to all programs throughout the district. Those are not easy calls to make on charter, but we also don't want to disrupt the events that have been planned out throughout the year at any given day. So it's a decision I make in the moment as we are looking at availability of our drivers and what we can cover and what we can't cover. So, moving to the future, we are working on increasing our driver availability. Our training program is going through recruiting actively. We currently have a class of 2 to 3 drivers actually, and we'll have another class starting soon. It does take a long time to train a driver. It could take up to 2 months to train a driver that has no CDL. So there's a lot of investment and time into training drivers. And also the fact of that is that we're working on our 4-bell system model. And the reason why we're doing that is to help with that driver availability, also to help with managing our facilities, providing, having more buses available and equipment, and just trying to keep our drivers working sustainable hours. And then, of course, just trying to keep it financially solvent for the district. We had a huge impact last year. This year, we take a small step back, but we think with the new bell system possibly out there, we will be able to recoup that cost next year and succeed in our financial responsibility as running efficient as we can. So part of that 4-bell system is to provide better service besides being efficient. We want to eliminate transfer routes for our elementary students. We want to provide more direct school busing, so a bus will service a specific school versus servicing 4 or 5 schools or 3 schools. And so we'll be able to provide a shorter ride for students, but also increase our impact on the district boundary area by producing calling more students to school. We want to look to generate more student counts and increase our counts by increasing our area and still making impacts into transit zones, which I explained last year does reduce some of our funding that we lost to the statewide city transit grant that they got. It doesn't reimburse us for how many kids ride the city transit system. In closing, I'd like to just say that this year has been a year of growth in as far as planning for next year. We've already pretty much finished our model. We have about 10% of more work to do to get us to that point, and we're looking forward to the future. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them for you.
Are there any questions from the board?
I have a couple. You explained to us last year about the 4-bell system and the 2-bell system. Could you refresh our memory on that?
Yeah, so we currently have 2 bells, and so we operate 57 buses in our 2-bell model. So every bell, there's 57 buses operating. And so those buses service the secondary level first in the morning. It's high school and middle school. Then it transitions to elementary, and those 57 buses go into the elementary bell to start the morning off. With the 4-bell system, we are going to stratify that and have middle school have their own bell time, and then a while later we'll have a high school have their own bell time, and then we'll have elementary have 2 bells. We hope to have that cut down to 25 to 30 routes, 30 buses operating at one time. So you can see how that gap it helps us to be more efficient. One, helps us to not have as much impact from being a short on drivers. Currently in that 66 model that we have right now, we're funded for 68 bus drivers, but we only have 66. And we still struggle to cover 57 routes.
So I'm interpreting what you're saying as there will be different start times.
Yes.
For high schools for middle schools, and somehow we're going to split up the elementaries so that some will have one start time and some will have another.
Yes. Stagger start.
Okay. Has that been communicated to families yet?
Not yet. We're in planning stages.
Okay. So,
We're almost finalized with the bell times, potential bell times, Martha, so we're
Okay.
close. Then we're also working on the routing, which underpins it all, so that's what we want to make sure as we look at the time gaps between the bells, how it can be routed. And really the goal, as Art said eloquently, is you have fewer drivers drive a longer time during the day, so you elongate and generally increase their pay because they're working more time. And also, as you said, he had 66, but on any given day, how many do we have out?
We have about anywhere from 10 to 15.
So that goes down from 57 drivers to 47 drivers to serve 66 routes, right? Or something like that. Sorry.
57 routes.
Yep. So we have so the goal is, as you tier up the system, is to utilize fewer drivers, have them drive longer, and then the trade-off, of course, is a change in start and stop times. It is not a large or significant change in start and stop times when it comes to minutes, and I think we'll be very close to sharing those out publicly. We do have some groups to run them through to poke holes and prod and see what the unintended circumstances are, but my goal operationally was to have them out in public for viewing and sometime in the middle to late March.
okay. This would also eliminate some of those transfers, right?
But right now, we currently have 7 buses that do transfer at Davis High School for elementary. It would eliminate them all.
Good. So we won't see kids standing in the cold and the dark down by the soccer field, right?
Correct.
Good. The other question I have, and you may not have the answer to this tonight because I'm kind of springing it on you. What is the average mileage for all of our buses for an entire year, for the year?
For the year.
So how many, we have 57 routes and each route is so many miles. And so then you can figure up those miles and say, our buses drive X amount of miles in total every year.
We do that calculation every year on STARS report. I did not bring that with me today, so I didn't have that in my presentation. But I think last year I had the numbers in there as how many miles we had transporting and how many miles we have extracurricular, but I can get that to you by tomorrow.
That would be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Will the new configuration in the 4-bell system, will that help with the rapid increase again in having to use charters? And I'm assuming a lot of those have to do with athletic. So in a way, the increase of charters means our teams are doing really well. They're traveling more. But again, we went from 88 to 5 and then to 61 again this year. So that's a huge increase again.
Yes.
So is that going to help with that issue?
It's going to help, yes.
Okay. And of course, this year's not over yet, so we may
No.
go well above that in terms of number of
No, it's not.
charters.
But yes, it will make a huge impact again on that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the
I do have a question. So in my presentation, there is a slide titled Transportation Data, and it lists 77 buses. So I'm just curious about what the difference between these two types of buses. One is there's 38 of, it's HDX.
Yep. Those are
and the 39 C-2s.
So the C-2s are typically our special ed buses, and the HDXs are our huge transit buses. So we call it the big bus, and then the small buses. So, yeah, the C-2s are our special ed buses and ECAP.
Okay, and how many of those are electric?
Currently, we have 3 electric.
And the whole out of the 77, only 3 are.
Yep.
Okay. And would be curious, is the district doing any or collecting any data in terms of the benefits of having a electric bus in terms of the cost benefits, maintenance, that kind of data or information? I would just be curious to to see that. If you don't have it now, that's fine, but.
Yep, I don't
maybe in
have
the
it at the
future.
moment, but I can
Yeah.
get that for you, yes. There is some difference in that, like, right now I can just speak that it is currently less expensive to run electric at the moment, based on the cost of electricity versus the cost of diesel. We are getting also 3 more buses electric in the next month, and we'll be able to get more data then for us.
Raymond, currently we're utilizing the state grants for any electric buses. So one positive, and Art and I actually talked about this today, was a new electric bus is what, $375, almost $400,000. Regular diesels run what,
Almost 200.
almost $2. So there's still a big cost differential. Now, what the state did though is you buy an electric bus for a state grant, and then they provide you the transportation depreciation funds on the electric bus on the transportation side, which does give you more revenue to buy different types of buses. And so we're working through that. So there is some advantage, at least, to use grant money to then reseed your transportation funding. So that's one angle we're looking at. But currently, the district, any electric bus will be 100% grant funded, along with the infrastructure to charge it.
Now, in terms of maintenance, I didn't see it. I saw a list of like 3 mechanics. Is there like a special technician that works on the electric buses, or are the mechanics cross-trained in that area, or how are they maintained?
There are cross-training going on at the moment, so electric buses are still pretty new throughout the state, so there's not a lot of classes to take yet, and most of them are under warranty at this current time. So there's a lot of vendor dealership support with that, but they also offer annually classes to help with that issue. The other great impact we're waiting for is the diesel buses that we do run, which is, I would say 95% of our fleet's diesel, has a huge equipment cost, maintenance cost to keep them running. The DEF, diesel cleaning system that helps the exhaust to make it cleaner as it burns, is over time gets to be expensive. The parts are, not cheap and they're to maintain, but we have to maintain them because we got to transport. So we're looking at that also, the gaining in maintenance costs to save us some money.
But with long-term, in terms of electric buses in cold winters need to be stored inside, don't they? They cannot be left outside or the batteries deplete. Is that correct?
We have not had a long, cold winter with the 3 buses we've had
so far,
thankfully. I think last year was a lot colder than this year. So last year we did keep them inside, but this year we have not. We kept one in charging in the garage, and the rest are outside. The other 2 are outside. But we'll have 6 here in the next month. We'll have 6 total then, and 5 of them will be outside at all times.
Okay.
Just one more question. In terms of, I know a lot of newer vehicles have the vast computer systems, right, that operate everything. So is there a lot of like systems or software updates or problems with that go on that are involved?
Not really necessarily problems. It's just a matter of learning a new tool. I call them tools, diagnostic tools that we need to use. As far as problems, no. There are some just evolving, like I would say our 3 buses are first generation electric buses. So, they came out, and now the next 3 we get are our second generation. So we'll see there'll probably be a growth from the first wave of buses that we have to the second as far as quality and technology. So it's exciting to work on them. It's exciting to see them run. And I look forward to the next generation coming out.
Raymond, we do plan on monitoring, because we had a conversation today. It's not even the cold, it's the heat too. So a lot of news on, and just to be honest, operationally, I have mixed feelings about electrical buses and their operational effectiveness. We do have a small footprint here though, which is advantageous. It's not like we have a huge geographical area to cover, so that's helpful. But Art and I just had this conversation today about monitoring them when it gets hot towards the end of the school year. And then of course, because the AC will just, if you haven't seen stories, when you put on the air conditioning when it's hot, the same thing happens as it's cold. It drains the battery pretty quickly.
Thank you so much. That was very informative.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jamie Lee, Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, and we have an update on instruction.
All right, good evening, board members, cabinet. Tonight, I'm excited to share our district's comprehensive approach to strengthening teaching and learning across all Yakima schools. This presentation highlights the intentional work we've been doing to strengthen our assessment systems, data literacy, and instructional practices. In order to build instructional coherence, we have focused on assessment design and data response systems. In late spring, early summer, we brought together teams of teachers to collaboratively create common end-of-unit math assessments. Those are aligned to all of our guaranteed standards. Having common data from these assessments across our system allows educators at all levels to engage in deep analysis, action planning, and instructional practice sharing. Additionally, we've implemented structures where principals review assessment data with cabinet members. Together, they analyze the common end-of-unit assessment data and share targeted action steps based on what the data reveals about student learning. By doing this, we have opened the door for principal teams in cabinet to engage in collegial conversations that create opportunities for meaningful dialogue about student learning and allow them to focus on the critical question, are our students learning and how do we know? Principals are then able to recreate the inquiry process in their buildings, facilitating their professional learning teams and creating action plans that translate the data insights into instructional impact. An additional opportunity for collegial conversation and dialogue has been through our principal cohorts. We have monthly dedicated time and structures for principals to collaborate with each other. This cross-school collaboration breaks down silos and allows our instructional leaders to problem solve together, to learn from each other, and to share effective practices. This cohort is informing our entire system, creating consistency across the district. This diagram before you represents the continuous instructional cycle that's now happening in classrooms and buildings across our district. It's a cyclical process that keeps instruction tightly aligned to standards while remaining responsive to student needs. I would like to draw your attention to the box that's titled, and I've highlighted it up there, Analyzing Formative Assessment Results to Provide Interventions and Extensions. This component of our instructional cycle has always been present in our schools, but this year we are focusing here systematically across our entire district. We're ensuring that every teacher has the tools, time, and support to analyze the common end-of-unit assessments and respond with targeted interventions for students who either need additional support or students who might need extensions if they're ready to go deeper. This focused attention on the end-of-unit assessment data is helping us to move from isolated pockets of excellence to district-wide consistency in how we monitor student learning and adjust instruction in real time. We're committed to providing high-quality instruction that is engaging, equitable, and effective for all students. The framework before you that I'm about to speak to gives us the ability to systematically respond to our data by drilling down to the instructional level. Rather than promoting isolated instructional strategies, this framework establishes 5 interconnected core practices that are aligned to our teacher evaluation framework and that work together to support intentional planning, professional collaboration, and ultimately improve instructional delivery. When we're analyzing data and we see gaps, this allows us to identify at the instructional level and examine specific teaching practices that will close those gaps. We have selected 5, but tonight I will focus in on 1, and that being questioning and discussion techniques. The practice of questioning and discussion techniques includes teachers asking and presenting students with open-ended, higher-level questions that allow genuine discussions, allowing students to think critically and offering multiple perspectives. Students have the opportunity to reason, reflect on learning, and justify their thinking, thus engaging all students in the discussion and allowing students to participate and ask questions of one another. You might be wondering, what strategies do teachers use to engage students in this process? So within our instructional practices, there are select strategies that align to them. One strategy that supports the practice of questioning and discussion techniques is the think, pair, share strategy. This strategy gives every student time to process a question individually first, then with a partner, they can discuss their thinking and then share either their partner's thinking or their own thinking aloud in a group. This ensures that students are active participants rather than passively engaging with the content or just waiting for another student to answer the question. Another powerful strategy that is aligned to questioning and discussion is the 10-2 principle, where after 10 minutes of teaching, teachers pause and provide two minutes for students to process what they have learned, discuss, or apply. This could be with discussing with a partner, maybe they're drawing a picture or responding in writing. These techniques increase student engagement, deepen comprehension, and give teachers real-time formative data in the moment about student understanding. By focusing on the core instructional practices, we're ensuring that our response to the data goes beyond what we teach to how we teach, creating more equitable opportunities for all students to engage in rigorous learning. In your slide deck, there's a link to the full document that outlines all 5 core practices and the aligned strategies. So as we look ahead, using what we've learned from math, we're continuing to expand and refine our instructional response system with a particular focus moving to supporting student growth in literacy across all grade levels. What makes this work different is that we're building capacity at every level of our system. We've achieved a fundamental shift in how we approach instruction across our district, moving away from the traditional model where teachers work in isolation, making instructional decisions independently, to a collaborative approach where teachers and their leaders are making data-informed decisions, decision-making culture that expands our entire system, from cabinet to principals to our teachers. The work that I've shared tonight represents the dedication and professionalism of our entire instructional team. Our focus on guaranteed standards, collaborative planning, common assessments, and responsive intervention ensures that every student has access to a guaranteed and viable curriculum and receives high-quality instruction. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the board or comments?
I just have a comment. I really like hearing the approach going from a passive more to a active, more meaningful engagement with the content, right? So that was, to me, that was great to hear. And that questioning the content is, for me, is a powerful tool to understand, right? Understand the content and to learn from that, and then the reflection part as well. So I just wanted to commend you for that, for including that piece in the active, meaningful engagement with the text is, I think, is an awesome strategy or technique. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. I do have, first of all, I'm continually excited about the professional learning communities and the establishment of collaborative work with teachers in examining student data and examining formative data, not just once a year state assessments. Are we beginning to see in some of our formative data the results of that work? And I know we were interrupted with COVID, but we're well enough past that now that we should begin to be seeing some formative data that's showing improvement in our students' performance. Because when we look at our summative data over the last 2 years, we've really plateaued. It's really been a source of frustration for, I think, several members of the board to kind of see that. So I want to know where we are with formative. Are we starting to see the efforts that we're doing, which we applaud, starting to show up in student performance?
What I can share is that we are certainly seeing some strong results where we have some solid systems around the data analysis piece using our school identified data analysis forum. So and recently our principals, we had a couple of principals share their specific techniques. And what the power is that we're able to respond quickly to the data. So you mentioned our summative data. At that point, the students have moved on. And so we are also looking at STAR data. Jamie didn't mention too much of that today, but we are using multiple data points to be able to track student progress and that growth.
So I'm going to be a little contentious. So you told us what you're doing in terms of gathering data, but we really haven't seen results yet. So I'm looking forward to results at some point after this effort. So thanks again. 50 years ago, when I was training at the University of Washington in special education, we were doing direct and daily measurement with special ed students and daily goals and daily assessment to monitor progress. And it's odd to me that it's taken 50 years for us to begin to do that with all of our students. And I really think that daily, a teacher should know daily where their kids are. So, and I know they're working hard. I get out and I look and I watch, and they're working really hard and really intentionally. So I applaud our teachers' efforts and our principals' efforts. But still, there's that little bit that says, why aren't we making more progress? And so I'm a little nervous about that. So thank you so much. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
I think you bring up a great question that I think the board needs to discuss, that academic progress, right? So for me, it's like, how much of the success that we want to see, how much can we attribute to what we just heard today, right? Can it be other variables that are poverty? Busing, we heard from busing today. Is it busing? They have to go across town. The four whatever bus or the 4 bell schedule now. There's a 2 bell versus our schedule, and we're going to see today. So I'm just wondering. That's always been my question. How do we nail down that success? What can we attribute the success or increase to? The leadership, curriculum, busing, the schedule. The schedule is another issue for me, is because we change the schedule in order to increase academic performance. So are we seeing that? So you bring up a very good question that I think we should probably spend some time discussing, right? So
yeah, I think it's something it's our responsibility to continually be looking and seeing, are we getting where we want to be?
Yeah.
It's kind of like we talk about transportation, but it's the classroom where the rubber hits the road. So
our equity policy could be another variable. I know we heard equitable practices today. I mean, what does that mean? How is it being implemented? How do we measure whether or not it's helping us to increase those scores? So those are all questions that I've had and continue to have and will continue to ask about in the future.
I'm just not sure it's one thing.
Oh, no. I mean, obviously, there are so many factors. We're aware of that. We know that attendance is an issue in this district and everywhere. It's nationwide. I read articles going on around the country. Attendance is an issue. And that's not just us. That's parents. We need our parents to get their kids to school, and support them being in school. We need bus drivers. We don't need 10 bus drivers absent every day. That bothers me to hear that statistic. It bothers me to hear teacher absences. And yet I know that their jobs are stressful, and stress affects our health. So, it's all those things mixed in together. But ultimately, we need to suck it up and start taking better care of our kids. I really think we do. So I'll get off my soapbox. But thanks again. You just sparked you sparked some passion in me today. So thank you.
That's just what we need, is Norm Walker wound up.
Yeah. Okay. That leads us into members of the board updates. Do we have any updates from members of the board? None today. Moving on. Superintendent's update. Dr. Arson.
So I do want to say that I had the pleasure of spending Valentine's Day morning with my husband at the Washington Music Educators Association conference, listening to the Davis Percussion Ensemble playing for a whole host of people from around the state who were there as educators, and they also had, I'm sure, a number of family members in the audience. But it was a wonderful experience. I mean, I had not heard a percussion ensemble before, and it was fantastic. And so I just want to brag on these young people who are learning and applying skills under the direction of their conductor, instructor, and now I've lost his name, Samuel Howard. And it was just a wonderful experience. So if you haven't had an opportunity to hear them before and you hear of an event coming up, I would encourage you to attend. And at this point, I'll turn it over to exciting PRR reports to Bob No.
Thank you. I think I missed the last board meeting where we presented some update on this. So just kind of recapping, for the year of 2024, we processed about 136 requests. Last year, the total turned out to be 202. This year, year to date, we have 34. So it looks like we're going to keep going that upward trajectory. It looks like the trend line is going to keep going that way. Hopefully it'll plateau at some point. We won't just have an infinite number of public records requests, but we're still processing them mostly within 60 days, mostly in the 5-day window, and keeping on top of it to keep the district in compliance. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else in the superintendent's update? Okay, thank you. Next up, we have highlights for community engagement. The document is in your board docs. Is there anything in there you want to highlight, Kristen?
Yes, there's a few things that I had mentioned last week that we would need to talk about this week. On your document, you have a variety of district events and school events. There are a few district events that I need to bring to your attention. The first starts our Art Walk series with Hoover Elementary School and Garfield Elementary School. And this first one is at Hoover, and it's on February 18th from 5:30 to 7, and this is open to our community. These art walks are not just an opportunity to see beautiful student art, but are also an opportunity for our community to review these two buildings that are on bond proposal. So they will be open to the community for tour and viewing of the student art. There will be more in March and more in April.
Kirsten, did you give us a time?
5:30 to 7.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
in the document.
The next one that I wanted just to bring to your attention tonight is the Student Senate meeting, which was scheduled for February 25th. That has pivoted to an away field trip. At the invitation of Representative Defoe in Olympia, the Student Senate will be traveling to Olympia on February 25th and spending the day with a schedule of our 14th and 15th district legislators. So it was kind of hard work in getting feedback from our family and students as to whether we could pull that off, but it looks like we can. Any students who elect not to go will still have their half-day school day and then be released onto their regular schedule.
Can we expect a report from those students back to the board on their experience?
I would love to facilitate that for
Thank
you. And lastly, I'd like to invite my colleague Rose George up to the podium with me, who can talk about our IPC meeting.
Shaklawa, Rinkanashwaniksha, Tamshashu. Good evening. My English name is Rose George Whitefoot, and I am a citizen of Yakima Nation, and I am the Yakima School District Tribal Sovereignty and Native Achievement TOSA. So I'd just like to also take a moment and welcome you to the homelands of Yakima Nation. I'm just happy to be here this evening. I just want to share about our IPC, our Indian Parent Committee meeting, which will be Wednesday, February 25th from 5:30 to 6:30 at Franklin Middle School. So that's what I'd like to share. Qualinu, thank you.
Thanks for the invitation and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Next up, Mr. Cooper, the monthly financial update.
Sorry, Jake.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Before I begin the presentation, a little fun fact for you all. The 2024-25 statewide financial data has been compiled, which allows yours truly to go through and determine the rank order of administrative overhead across the entire state. So some good news. We are now 280th out of 295 districts in overhead spending as a percentage of operating budget at 10.19%. That puts us in the bottom 5% of all districts in the entire state of Washington in overhead spending. So I thought I would share that with you. Additionally, the statewide average during the same fiscal year was 12.03%, to put it in perspective. So the only districts, if you look at the rank order, that are any lower, one of them being my prior district, if you see a trend on overhead. So we are in very good company, and I want to let you know that our budget tightening and scrutiny on administrative overhead continues and puts us in the bottom 5% of all districts in the entire state. So I thought that provided a little factoid for you before I begin. Any questions on that? All right. What do we have? There we go. January items of interest. You'll see cash flow is trending above projection. That is after we've repaid the TAN in full, the tax anticipation note. So there's now no longer any outstanding notes to any third-party obligators, which is good. I just did the reconciliation in January apportionment. It is right in line with budget, if not slightly better. There will be a little bit of headwind as we enter the year. So we did notice, not in this report, but the next one, between January and February, we lost 100 students in enrollment. We're investigating why and who and where, but that is kind of an anomaly in our data. Additionally, as we get to the cash flow, I will speak a little more about what will drag it down closer to projection. So, as you can see, our enrollment continues to drop even throughout the year. So October enrollment was the peak at 14,800, just under 840, 839, and then we're now down to 14,781. So, which is not uncommon. We do lose students throughout the school year. But again, with our continued enrollment declines, we do not like to see mid-year losses. So, but we are have a few bright spots. ALE is continuing to grow, as we'll get to that. But our enrollment, as we've seen many graphs, is on the downhill. Speaking of that, there's the budget to actual. In various forms, I was still over-projected slightly at secondary. However, we did have, as I've talked about, additional gains in ALE, CTE, and special education. So that's what made our overall budget picture come together. So we were down in general ed enrollment below projection, but I was very conservative on CTE and special ed numbers, which allowed us to come in line with actual. So I'm very pleased with how the revenue numbers came out. There's the cash flow. Cash is king, no matter what. So liquidity is the biggest problem facing school districts across the state of Washington. It is the most common phone call I get from superintendents or other CFOs around the state. How do I manage my cash, particularly the cash flow? And liquidity is different than fund balance. It's the amount you need throughout the year to pay the bill. So I often focus you on the trough. So the trough is the line between our tax collections. And you can see right now the trough is sitting at up $14 million. That will drop a couple $1 million, partly because of the 100 students we lost, and additionally, the way our federal grant is structured, particularly in IDEA. We are required, because we have certain sanctions from the federal government on certain student groups, to set aside money each year out of IDEA. We solve that set aside by adding behavior para into each building. That allocation, the only way to comply with the requirement would be to actually cut funding and then carve out the paras to solve the problem. We added the paras on top, so IDEA is approximately $1.5 million over budget purposely. We have front funded that, and we will continue that $1 million will draw down over the year as it continues on. So we will see that moderate, but we are in much more solid cash position than we were 12, 18, 24 months ago, as you can see. General fund revenue, budget to actual. As you can see, the teal bar is the actual and the budgets. So our revenue is below budget as well, but also our expenditures. So in that case, if you look at the run between expenditure and revenue, we're about 2.5 or 3 million to the good, which is a great place to be. This time of year, however, as I told you, we will have some headwinds to slow us down, but in much better place than we were last fiscal year. Here's the expenditure side. The teal bar is the actuals, and you see the dark black bar in the budget. So most months we are running at or are slightly below the budgetary amounts, which gives you a good picture of how we're operating month to month. My goal is to be boring as possible in the numbers when it comes to month, consistent. We're running 19, 20 million of payroll on the average with accounts payable on top. And so you can see our total monthly expenditures they go through. So very steady on the payroll side currently. But again, as I talk about at the end of the presentation, the real wild card will be my friends down in Olympia. MSOC, material supplies and operating costs. And if you're really old like me, they were called NERCs, non-employee related costs. Martha might remember that. We love our acronyms in K-12. Harder to trend because your MSOCs generally, you can drive them up or down depending on if you have a large curriculum adoption and the timing of purchases, but they are moving along at or below budget on a monthly basis. Okay, questions. Now, I will say from the legislative standpoint, the biggest wild card for us, as we sit here today, is levy equalization, or LEA, as it's commonly known. The current LEA funding would have us have an uptick of about $3 million in levy equalization funding. The governor, however, in his preliminary budget cut that in half. So it'd be $1.5 million versus the 3. Though those variables that variable in particular is the one that keeps me up at night, and I talk to cabinet about when they ask about what the plans are for the spring and are we going to reduce staff. And so that the major drivers for our staffing and our budgetary situation will be some decisions made in Olympia. And we should know shortly as the chambers release their budgets. But levy equalization is outside of basic ed, technically under statute, and can be reduced. I believe last time I looked for the biennium, it's like $500-600 million in LEA, so it is a big chunk of money. The other items that are outside of basic ed that could be reduced are national board certs, both high POV and traditional. They run a couple $100 million a biennium. And then the LID days, learning improvement days, though there's 3 of those, the state has reduced and added those throughout my career, down to 0, up to 4, down to 0 to 2. They could reduce those as well because they're, I think, last I checked, 50 million apiece for the day statewide. So I did talk to some legislative colleagues. They do believe they need to cut out of K-12 depending upon what happens in the revenue side. I heard it ranges from 500 million to a larger rounder number with more zeros. So that makes me and she's a very reliable legislator when it comes to understanding what's happening with the budget. So that makes me a little bit nervous about what could be on the table, particularly for levy equalization. So that's what I know from Olympia. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have tonight. And then Martha, I don't know if you have anything to add about what's happening down.
I don't right at the moment. Thank you.
Any questions for Jake?
All right, thank you very much.
I do have one question on the MSOCs.
Yes.
For February, the budget, it's budgeted much higher than normal. Is there a big expense that comes in February that you probably told us last time, but I forgot what it is?
Let me see.
It's kind of equivalent to the February 23-24 budget, but it's much higher than last year's budget for MSOCs.
And sometimes when you see a big chunk of that, it's the timing of the running start payments outbound, because they can be there's $1 million that flows out. So sometimes it's the timing of the running start payment as one example of why those MSOCs can swing that large.
Thanks.
You bet.
Thank you, Jake. Okay, next up we have comments from the public on agenda items. Do we have anybody signed up to comment? Okay,
Not at this time.
not at this time. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda are the normal things: approval of minutes, notification of approval of warrants for January, approval of personnel actions, budget status report for January, and one that isn't typically in consent agenda but crops up maybe once a year or once every couple years. So if you hadn't had a chance to read through it, or your board docs wasn't working when it was coming through, just a quick explanation. There are a certain amount of uncollected things that people have owed the district. Usually they're in small amounts, but they add up to a significant amount. But the cost of recouping those things would cost more than writing them off. And we've done this in the past before. So just so if you're not familiar with that.
Generally, once a year, we would bring you the write-offs, either for traditional receivables, or in this case, I believe there's restitution as part of the write-off. So it's a mixture, and it is not uncommon. We have tried to collect this debt for several years, and we're unable to do so.
Yep. So do you want to separate that out, or do you need more explanation?
I'm fine.
Fine with it? Fine with that? Okay. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board accept the consent agenda as presented.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have approval of the instructional calendar for 26-27. Dr. Larson.
Thank you. So on February 2nd, I brought forward along with Dr. Lucero a concept of approving a calendar with a modified early release schedule. We are still working with our YEA partners in terms of coming and gathering a shared understanding of what a different early release schedule would look like. However, we do know it's important for our families and for our staff to know what dates school will take place. So tonight we're bringing before you a proposal for approval that would approve the dates of school, with the idea that in the near future, we would come back and confirm what we would like the early release schedule to be for the coming year.
Thank you. That said, have you all had an opportunity to look through that calendar? Okay. There is kind of recommended language for the motion that it's on the action item in your board docs. If you want to refer to that, that would be good language for whoever would like to move to support this action.
I move that the Board of Directors approve the 2026 to 2027 school instructional calendar dates as presented, with the understanding that the proposed early release schedule for the 2026 to 27 school year will be brought forward for board consideration at a subsequent meeting.
Do I hear a second?
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the instructional calendar for 26-27. All in favor, say aye.
Was there discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to?
Sure. I just want to go back to the point you made earlier in our meeting about academic achievement. So I know that several years, this has probably been, 3 years now since we changed the calendar? 3 or 4 years? So I guess my question is, and it's, when we made the change, we had asked about, what's the research behind the changes and so forth. But now the question is, what is it doing what we intended it to do? So we said that we wanted to address the summer learning loss, right? Is this calendar addressing that, or are less kids coming in with that starting behind every year? Are they needing less remediation? And the big President Walker question is how is that contributing to increasing academic achievement? So those are all questions that we had when we went to a new calendar.
So I will.
Change that we instituted was, I think, 2 years ago. We approve a calendar every year, but at that time, we pushed the start time back a little bit. So, moved it earlier in the year. So it's now mid to late August as opposed to late August to September.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we've made much of a change to the end of school date because there's holidays in there that we've had to skirt around a little bit. But my recollection is that those are the only changes that we made.
So we wanted to make the summer shorter, right? Saying.
Well, that was the idea.
Yeah, which
is something I've been pushing for, but there are other factors that are affecting our ability to make those changes.
No, I understand that, but I guess I'm asking about the changes we made to the calendar in terms of, are they accomplishing what we intended? Because we wanted to make the summer shorter to address the summer learning loss. Is that happening? And so we wanted to change the calendar because the summer learning loss would contribute to contributes to the academic achievement or the low test scores, whatever. So I'm just wondering if the changes for the last 2-3 years have, or how it's doing that, or if it's, we know that with our test scores that we, as mentioned by our president, that they plateaued. So I'm just kind of another variable to examine and just to wonder about how it contributes to if it's working or not. So I realize that there's other, like the teachers union and so forth, have a say in that as well, and they would have to contribute to the conversation about making any changes.
Yeah, this particular calendar doesn't really address that. This is real similar to the previous calendars. The big difference is eliminating the half day in Wednesday and moving that to Mondays, and then that teacher prep time and collaboration time will all be on Mondays. So the benefit for kids and parents is that their week is more consistent. It's beneficial to parents because it's that half day Wednesday once a month is. Now, Wednesdays will all be full days, so it's a little less confusing to follow. Still provides for the teacher collaboration and teacher planning time, but it really doesn't address going earlier in the year, later in the summer. To also address that comment, I think in our last meeting we did get a report on the plans and proposals for this coming summer school, which has a lot of incentives to get more kids that are struggling to summer school. Hopefully that will work.
Because as it stands now, it's completely voluntary.
Right.
We issue the invitation to families and say, this is going to be fun. Your kids are going to love it. Some families take advantage of that. Others choose not to. And there's really no way that we can force that.
I have some thoughts about that, but that's not for this meeting or this issue. But
yes.
But I think there might be some ways in the future that we might be able to provide some leverage to kids that aren't succeeding. But that's another whole topic. Anyway, did that answer your question?
Yes, I apologize. I missed the last discussion on the calendar, so I just had a few.
Okay, so that said, the motion's on the floor and it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment on the calendar? Okay, now we'll go. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Okay. We have now arrived at our second opportunity for comments from the public. Are there any takers? One.
Is it on? Hi, my name is Steve McKenna. I'm a retired educator from the Yakima School District, former YEA president, and a taxpayer in the Yakima School District for over 40 years. So anyway, I'm glad to see that we're making some financial progress. That's a good thing, and that hopefully this progress will result in a year without RIF at the end of the year, since we've had 3 RIFs in 2 years. I think we've gotten past our financial calamity now, and that's all paid off. So those are good things. I would say that some of your discussion earlier is kind of interesting about some of the formative monitoring in the classrooms. Monitoring a special ed classroom with 6 to 10, 12 students and 2 or 3 aides is a lot different than managing a formative assessment for 150 students in 5 different periods that you would have during the day. And I would think those things would have to look a lot different, both at the secondary level and both middle school and high school, because there's just a massive number of students in your course, and trying to do those kind of assessments daily and keeping it in records, that's a lot different. Job would take a lot more time. So anyway, the other thing I'm concerned about financially is that I just saw that some surrounding districts, several passed their levies. West Valley, I know, passed their levy, and they did fail their bond. And I would say that that's going to be a tall order in the spring to convince people. I mean, nobody likes paying taxes, but they like to make sure that their taxes, if they do are paid, are going for things that are things that they want. And so it'll be interesting to see how the district approaches that. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a need for executive session this evening for about 10 minutes to discuss a personnel issue.
I move that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of
Dealing with personnel.
Personnel issues, and for 10 minutes. Are we going to meet in the professional library?
Second.
Okay.
Moved and seconded to go to executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?